name is Jesse, operations consultant, and I've got a very special guest with me today, someone who I've known for quite a few years and has really worked with me quite hard on a lot of big things. This is Mr. Mohammed. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey Jesse, thanks a lot for having me. My name is Mohammed,
Absolutely.
and yeah, I'm I'm specialized kind of in the sales part in terms of working with people and leadership. So hopefully we'll get a lot to talk about, communicate, and build upon.
Yeah, absolutely. Mohammed and I worked on, we have the similar sales background mentor as well. And we also worked the same team where Mohammed was one of my managers as well. So we've both learned a lot in each other's areas about leadership and management. And I wanted to kind of unpack a little bit of that today because, as I usually talk about, I'm a firm believer that really underpinning the layers of clarity are the solutions to how to manage your people better and how to grow yourself and grow within an organization as well. So I think that'd be pretty interesting. So, Mohammed, why don't you give us a little bit of background about you? Like, what is it that kind of brought you to this place in your life, in this world of business, being online, and also the experience that you've had managing other people?
Sure. Well, it didn't start that way. My path started back in terms of sales when I was in 18, 19 years old in university doing network marketing. And it is something that I managed to build like an empire upon. And yeah, it was fun, it was great. But again, like the network marketing business model was not the model that I would go back and do again right now, but it was good at the time for me. This is where I fell in love in sales as I was doing my electrical engineering degree. Nevertheless, graduated one of the top universities worldwide and started getting a job. And when I started like working on in the health sector and stuff like that, fixing machines, building and designing and stuff, I just felt that this is not my thing. So I knocked the door on my manager and I told him, I was like, um, service and technical is not my thing. I would love to be in sales. And the word that I still remember is just like, you're not a good fit for sales. Like you can't do sales. And this was like kind of something that kind of inspired me because it's like a kickback, like a competitive nature that I have. And I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm not gonna sit here and let someone tell me you're not good in sales when I have a good track record in network
Mhm.
marketing and sales. And this is where it's just like I popped up into is like, okay, I quit my job and got a sales job and then built it up and then and then fast forward, I lost my job again before COVID, and this is where it's like I got to build my business, and I got the knowledge in sales. I know how to close over the phone, and let me step into this world. And this was the first step where I started to become an entrepreneur and transitioned. And that story took around 5 years between my
Mhm.
first job till I started my entrepreneurship, and then 5 years for university. So we're talking about a cumulative of almost 10 years before I jumped into the entrepreneurship world.
Right. Yeah, and that's a lot of different stages too. I mean, one of the big things you mentioned there as well is the impact that COVID had on a lot of our industries and jobs and stuff like that. Can you talk about the transition from, pre-COVID to post-COVID with the development that you went through, taking your sales game to the next level and then being able to instill that in other people as well?
Yeah. So when it came, it's kind of a unique situation because I lost my job 3 months before COVID, and that made put me in a position where I'm not eligible for any of the COVID relief funds and
Oh,
support.
I see.
So it was
Mhm.
kind of like I don't have that, but at the same time I need to figure things out. And the world was in fear, and no, people were not hiring, and there's this fear everywhere. So I'm kind of in the middle where it's just like I want to give value, but I can't. So it's just like how can I step up and find industries that can accommodate my skill? And I looked at a couple of the industries and stuff like that, and this is where it's just like I started fishing and I started looking and I started like working on myself. And I remember like literally sitting between me and myself, working on tonality and stuff like for hours and hours and hours, literally just listening to my voice, recording it, listening to it again, recording it, listening to it again. It's just like I wanted to perfect whatever I can. So when the right opportunity comes in, and then I worked on marketing and positioning myself, and yeah, worked with a couple of companies, and then went to build my own company, and moved from there. But at the end of the day, I was between two walls, the wall of COVID and the wall that I have a wife and a daughter that I had to take care of, pay rent, and if I'm not going to do it, then nobody else will. So that's where I
Mhm.
had to kick back. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And would you say that that kind of level of working on yourself and practice, do you think that that's what that kind of drive is what's really been able to take it to the next level where you can then instill that in others as well?
Absolutely. And I do believe this. I do believe that hitting the bottom is essential. If you don't hit the bottom at any point of your life, you'll never reach the top. It's something you can look in the story of a lot of the people that are successful, 80-90% of the people. They
Yeah.
always have a story where they hit the bottom. My bottom was 2019 between December till March, where I was homeless. I didn't have anything to do. I was literally jumping between family houses. Don't have an apartment, don't have a car, don't have anything, and my wife and daughter were in a total different country because I couldn't support them. That was when you hit the bottom and understand. And now the question is, when you hit the bottom, how do you stand back up?
Mhm.
Do you give up and say, oh, that's the bottom, that's where I'm at, and start just accepting the fact, or you hit the bottom and you're like, there's no way other than up from here, and this is where you need to have the strong mindset or mentality to kind of push back. And yeah, and imagine in a situation where I've done my electrical engineering, I finished my MBA from one of literally the top 10 universities in Europe, and then I lost my job before COVID, and nobody wants to hire me. And each time I do an interview, is like, I'm just better than that person. Like, why does that person want to be
Mhm.
my manager? And then you just get to a point where you're like, you need to figure it out. And this is where it's are you going to fight back or not? And again, if you look at the story of most of the people, you can find there's a lot of common characteristics. One is competitiveness. Like you look
Mhm.
at Michael Jordan, you look at Kobe, you look at Tiger Woods, like you look at those people and they're like very competitive. Like if they lose a game, they take it personal. If they like they're very very competitive. And again, if you're able to build to have that characteristic with the fact that you hit the bottom at a situation, then then
Mhm.
that I believe is the best combination. I've always
Yeah.
believed that you can do it without hitting the bottom, but it's if you have a safety net, if you have a job, or if you have an income coming in, you're like you can procrastinate. But when you
Mhm.
don't have something coming hitting your bank on Friday, it's either you got to do it, or you won't find anything to eat or anything to supply for your family. And this is where it's do or die.
Right. It's a different level of urgency. That kind of reminds me of one of the times we first started working together. For me, I had just quit my job after COVID, was making my way online, started working with you guys, and I had a kid on the way. And that was one of those moments where like either you're gonna make it happen or there's not gonna be anything to provide for this next person in your life. And it was do or die. And I think that that just I mean, it may not be for everybody, like you said, so that kind of pressure may not always translate to the best results. But I've found that for me, the times where I was forced to make a decision was when I made the biggest movements forward, whether it was in changing jobs, in a job, leveling up myself, really just holding yourself to a different standard of performance because you have to, or at least you feel you have to, right? Because everybody's different. But I think that that really is a big feature. And for you, like when you talk about hitting the bottom, I think really what that means is it provides you a different level of clarity for moving forward. Like before, like you said, there's all these kind of different reasons and excuses and thoughts about how things are, but really hitting the bottom is like, okay, well, this is how it is. And if I'm going to move forward, then there really is only one path toward a better future. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And to build on top of it, so when things are like normal and you have a safety net, then technically what happens is procrastination is high. The timeline that you do things is very
Mm-hmm.
long, I would say. And then also in terms of like urgency, your urgency is like super low. What happens is when you hit the bottom, you look at your schedule and you're like, you look as like I'm not the productive person. Even if you like, I'm not the person that I want to be. And this is where urgency starts to spike, and you want to kick back. Now, to build on top of it, one of the things that I've said to a lot of my closers, especially people that live in countries that it's not expensive to live there. Like a
Mm,
US dollar is like really, really like a $2,000 is more than enough to give them a great life, a sustainable life. And one of the first things that I told two of my closers, one is from Romania and the other one is from Austria. It was the first meeting I started working with them, and I told them, I'm going to give you this very, very, very simple method, and you need to remember it, not now, but 3 months from now. And if you're going to be able to anticipate it, you're going to be able to fight it. 3 months from now, right now, your back is to the wall. You're not making a lot of money. 3 months from now, you're going to have 20 to 25 to $30,000 in your bank account if you work with me right. That's You're going to get there. The problem is, are you going to have the same hunger you have today when you have that 30,000? And I
right.
can tell you, your fourth and fifth month is going to be a decline. And the moment that you see it, this is where we need to know that it came. We're going to kick back. So if you look at it now, we're building the whole structures. Like your back is to the wall, you hit the bottom, and then when you rise, I'm taking the people from other countries as an example, is because
Sure.
like the rise can be like X2 or X3 or X4 because of the nature of how expensive the country is, compared to the California or to the US or Canada or whatever. So it's just like, if you look at the cycle, it's just like you see that over there the urgency technically drops. It's just like, I got 30,000 in my bank account, I got 40,000, I need 2,000. That's like 20 months of, if I don't work, I'm okay.
Right.
So compare this to this. If you don't understand this to this, compare this to the bottom where you don't have anything, and then you'll find a bigger even gap than where you are right now compared to where you are, where it is going to be when it's time is hard. And again, sometimes people don't go through the situations where time is hard, and I think it's because they're playing it safe.
Mm,
If they're comfortable with where they're at and they're just playing it safe. Playing it safe means, I live in a $2,000 apartment or a $2,000 house, rent or whatever. It's just like, step up your game, and suddenly you're gonna feel that your back is to the wall, and you believe in yourself that you deserve more. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
so
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, and often it's a matter of knowing what you're fighting for. Like if your rent is only 2,000, well then you only need a little bit more than that to make what you used to call a living for yourself, even in other countries where it is a lot more. But I think what you're mentioning is when you raise your standards, you raise the goal that you're fighting for. So all of a sudden, 2,000 isn't a whole lot anymore. Boom! All of a sudden, there's urgency there. So I guess that's a big part of keeping the momentum alive, because I think one of the biggest problems with lack of clarity, in this case, lack of awareness of what you're fighting for, is it creates those ups and downs. Because like, let's say you start with clarity, like I want to get to 5,000 a month or what have you, and then you get there, and then you're just left with that same preconception, and so you end up oscillating up and down there until we say, okay, well, what is really the goal now? Am I working on this? Am I working on that? Am I getting to a new goal? So that the momentum stays rather than going back down. Because I've experienced that. I know everybody has. And businesses too, because it's not just individual, because their business is obviously a reflection of everybody who's a part of it. And I think what you said about, timelines is really important too, because a lot of times we look at 30 days or 2 weeks or 90 days or what have you. But really, if we talk about long-term success and having the clarity of what that looks like, that actually changes some of the day-to-day actions that we take. Would you agree?
I would totally agree with this, and this is the unfortunate part. Um, and I think the school system and the job world or the corporate world is what programmed us in a way that is an opposite direction. Because if you think of it this way, if you work for an hour, you're entitled for that 10, 15, $20, $30 that you're entitled to. And it's just like, it can be instantaneously, or it can be in a week from now, it can be 2 weeks from now. So whatever effort that you spend, you look at the cycle, I'm going to get it back in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. Um, and if and that short term is is there. And what a lot of people don't understand is that this short term is the reason that you're not getting paid more. What I mean is the other person is taking the risk. When you start on a project, when you're in sales, you get your salary paid to you, even if you didn't close any deals. And if you're in marketing or if you're in quality control, if you still get your salary paid for you or your hours if you show up. So that system gets us to the part where we're rewarded really quickly. And even right now with the like millennials and we're talking about like later generations, it's also where the patience is really short. It's just like I want to do this, I'm going to get the reward right now, and it's like I'm going to do XYZ, and like in an hour from now you're going to get this reward. It's never a long-term reward, and it's just because our span of in terms of like our attention span, our patience has shrinked a lot in the past couple of years. And one of the things that I've heard, a lot of the celebrities, I'm talking about Joe Rogan, I'm talking about Patrick Pat David, is just like even David Goggins is just like right now. A lot of people say it's hard to build a business because it's like crowded. On the other side, today people are softer than ever.
Hmm.
They're very soft, like their standards are like if they can get offended really quickly or they can give up really quickly or they can if they do a week of a diet and they don't see the change on the scale, they just give up and they don't care about what like they don't care about the long term. What that puts us in a position is that you don't need to be a complete savage aggressive person from the inside to be able to dominate anymore. It's just like you need to just be better than people around you. And if you just hold a little bit of a higher standard, and everybody's standard has been dropping because their attention span is low, because their action is low, their urgency is low, they're okay with getting paid. And you want to measure this. Like, and again, a lot of people were okay with getting $2,000 from the government from COVID relief funds and stuff like that. And they're like, okay, like I'm okay with that. They're okay with that concept. It's just like if you're surrounded, and how many of those people there is out there. So it's just like if those people are the people you're competing against is different than when you have a team full of Michael Jordans or a team full of Kobe's that are like literally side by side, and then you're competing against those people to make it to the first team. It's just like the hunger is easier right now. All we have to do is a little bit of discipline, a little bit of hunger, a little bit of a mindset control that can allow you. If today you read like 3 books a month, I can tell you you're better than you're better than 98% of the society because they're not even reading one book. They're not even reading books at all. Like and if you spend less time on social media and you spend more time in your personal development, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's above. So we came to a world where it's really people are really soft nowadays, and it kind of gives us the advantage of to kind of push, and any small push is going to create a gap. Any idea is going to create a gap and is going to give us the upper edge over um, competition.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. There may be more players in the game, but like you said, they're different players. It's not like how it used to be where you had to be at a certain level to even survive in business. Now it's so accessible, which is great. But it's just like, everybody's going to the gym, but they're not lifting the weights. And so if you can show up and commit and really dedicate yourself to what's there, even just a bit more effort will put you above the pack. Now, there's one thing to be said for having that idea, but then putting it to practice is a whole nother thing, of course. And so for you, like when you're talking about working with your closers who um, will encounter those issues, will encounter those obstacles as you go. For you, like what is your most practical ways that you encourage and foster that performance is those closers, not just for the next 90 days, but for the long run as well?
So um, there's two drivers into this process. There's the external and the internal driver, and and the way and the combination goes is making them work hand in hand, where the external driver can pump up the internal driver for let's say like 50%, and the internal driver can pump up the external driver outside. The way that I look at it is your job as a leader, first of all, is to let people anticipate what's coming in. So
Mm.
building a vision for them. So because one of the things that they need to know is where they're at, where they want to get to, and what are the things that they're going to go through. If they're able to anticipate it, then when they come, they will know that it came. Plus, they're going to have way more respect to you because they're going to respect that you came in at the right spot at the right time to tell them what's going to happen. So, okay, this is where you as a leader prove to them that I've been where you're at. You've been. Like I'm a couple of months ahead of you or a couple of years ahead of you because I know in 4 or 5 months from now that's what's going to happen. So number one, you anchor yourself as a leader. So I'll get back to the internal and external. So first of all, you need to anchor yourself as a leader where people respect you and people look up to you. And the best way you can do that is number one by being I would say being a coach player. So despite that I was leading 15 people in like while working together, I was like taken the highest closer, like the highest amount closer or the best closer award on a monthly basis multiple times while leading 15 people. So you think of it this way, Mo has 15 people to lead and do sales, and I just have sales and he's there to smash and he's there above me and he's closing more and he's helping more impact more lives. And it just looks at as like it's like a different league. Multitask. Now you're talking about multitasking and stuff like that. This is where you gain people's respect. A lot of people and leaders, unfortunately, they just lay back and they're just like they give orders. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is where you need to do a lot in order for you to gain respect, and you need to get to get the company to 3x 4x to get the respect. And this is where people at the bottom don't see the direct effect. They see the effect of the effect of the effect of the effect. So you have to have the sequence of things all line up to hit that person for them to understand that you have been doing an awesome job. While if you do exactly what they're doing and you do it better than them, this is like an aha moment. It's like a 10 and a 6. A 10 is greater than a 6. But over there is just like you're talking a different language with a lot of equations in the middle leading to their effect. So in my opinion, so number one could be gaining respect by being a coach player, and be very careful before you promote to just a coach, not a player. That's one. Number two is like have them always target their why and the reason they're here. Because if times are hard, they want to push, and if times are soft, they want to retract. So so this is where you want to remind them, where are we going to, and you want to keep refreshing that. And a very good book is Start with Why. It's a good driver. There's a lot into it, and it's all about getting them to that position. So now we talked about the leader positioning themselves in terms of the vision, in terms of the guidance, and that's all external along with the motivational money, and making sure that they make enough money, they're taken care of. You ask them how they are, and then the internal is what are they willing to do when you're not around? What are they willing to do for their dreams? If you die today, how much do they have to carry with them? So getting that combination where you provide them the good environment for them to thrive along with the internal, like a plant. If the plant can grow, the environment around it can it's going to grow by itself. That's the internal motivation. But at the same time, some plants don't grow because they don't have enough internal support. But with the proper environment, they're able to do it. So I would say they come hand in hand, and you can build them separately, but it's all about how much can this affect this and how much can the plant affect the environment by making it cleaner for it to support me to grow. So it's kind of two loops that come into each other.
Yeah, no, I see that. You can't have one without the other, right? They both work together, and that's what creates sustainability, whether it's personal or organizational or what have you. So thanks for breaking that down. I think that for everybody listening, that was a little bit of a masterclass on long-term sustainable management right there. It was being a coach player as well, really leading by example so that you build that authority, that respect, so that they listen and actually implement what you're talking about, which from an internal and external perspective really sets you up for success in the long run. Doesn't remove the challenges, but it gives you a fighting start when they come along. So thanks for really breaking that down, Mohammed. Really appreciate you showing up and all the value you just added here for sure. If anybody wants to chat with you or know more about what you're doing and what you're about, what are some of the best places that they can find you?
I would say Instagram, official Mo Farhat is there, um, and um, and I would say my social medias are there, so you can reach out to me over there. We'll be more than happy. I can reach out to Jesse, and he can provide you with my
Yeah.
contact information. Yeah, we'll be more than happy to support anybody with any thoughts and support.
Absolutely. With that, whatever, as well as I'm on LinkedIn and my socials as well. So thanks everybody for coming out. This is a really valuable episode. Go ahead and take some of these facts and really think about how it applies to you and really what it translates to in terms of your goals as well. So with that, we'll see you guys next couple of weeks and take care. Bye-bye.